In a region as thirsty as southern New Mexico, every gallon counts. To ensure drinking water stays safe and wastewater is treated properly, Las Cruces Utilities unveiled its new water quality laboratory located on West Amador Avenue. Utility officials say the roughly $4 million facility is about 5 times larger than the city's existing test site and is designed to meet green building ratings. Water Quality Lab Manager Luis Guerra has worked for the city for more than a dozen years. He says the extra space allows the lab to keep meeting safety standards and run more tests if needed. The facility has separate labs for water and wastewater, which Guerra says helps prevent issues like cross-contamination. He demonstrated how the lab analyzes drinking water with a container of residential water. Guerra says technicians collect samples at homes served by the city more than 100 times a month.
The techs at the Water Quality Lab, they go out and they sample at least 110 times per month within the city. They'll knock on your door, ask if they can sample your water, go to a spigot or go to your faucet and get a sample just like this.
Federal regulations require the utility to test for dozens of contaminants like copper, lead, and arsenic that could potentially seep into the groundwater. In addition to testing pH and nitrogen content, Guerra says the lab checks for harmful bacteria like E. coli. To do that, technicians use a special powder.
We bring the samples in here, and what we do is we add a special media. It's called Colilert. Put it in here. It's food for the microbacteria. Swish it around for a while, and then we put it in an incubator right here and allow it to, if you will, grow for 24 hours.
If the sample stays clear, Guerra says that means no growth has formed and the water is safe to drink. But if it turns yellow, there's bacteria.
I want to say 99.9% of the time we never see any growth.
To detect E. coli specifically, technicians use a UV light. Guerra shines the wand on 2 control samples containing bacteria.
And then we'll compare it to the other growth of bad bacteria, total coliform here and E. coli. The way we can tell the difference between the total coliform and E. coli is E. coli fluoresces. This test is done. If we were to see any bad results in our system itself, we'd be required within 24 hours to notify the system and to let the public know that something's wrong. But the city always has no news to tell, so no news is always good news for you guys.
While drinking water must be completely potable before it enters the water supply, Guerra says wastewater can contain some microorganisms as long as they stay within certain levels. According to city data, the Jacob Hands Wastewater Treatment Facility treats more than 3 billion gallons of sewage per year. After processing the waste, the city discharges the effluent into the Rio Grande. But before that happens, it must pass inspections by senior lab technician Yadira Reyna. She says making sure wastewater is properly treated before it enters the river is vital for the health of the environment.
Our expectations is that when it's going out of the plant, anything that is discharged into the river, because this is where our wastewater will go, we're making sure that it's not going to hurt any fishes or any other living organisms that are in the water.
For example, Reyna also tests wastewater for E. coli. She fills a sample cup with test powder before giving it a good shake. Reyna says working in quality control can be challenging because of the level of focus required.
It's very important that when we're running the analysis that we're paying attention. Working in a lab is very detail-oriented. So we need to pay attention to every small detail. We need to know numbers, how those numbers come in on a daily basis. For example, they expect numbers to be in a certain range. We need to notice, hey, when that number's not in a certain range, something's going on here. They need to be notified.
Reyna carefully pours the test sample into a plastic tray, which gets sealed for incubation. A UV light test on an actual wastewater sample showed 4 tray cells testing positive for E. coli. She compares that number against a table of range limits.
And we have a reporting number of 4.1. Now, for this plant at the Jacob Hands Wastewater Treatment Facility, exceeding limit would be 410. So to have a 4.1 is awesome.
In addition to having technicians like Reyna on tap, Guerra says Doñana Community College students help the lab as interns through the school's water technology program.
We are required to sample 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Guerra says those who work at the facility take a personal interest in the water they test.
They have a strong drive and love for the environment. Not only being homegrown here, we're working as a job and trying to keep the environment safe, but we actually have families in here. So the job that we are doing here is not only professionally satisfying, but actually it protects our families ourselves and the community themselves. So what we do here is very important, in all aspects.
Because clean water is something everyone can drink to. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Michael Hernandez.